record the first part simply so that colleagues who can't make the actual session get the benefit of it later. So we'll just start with a settling practice. The main move is in and down with our consciousness. So move one is to, well, I guess even before we move our consciousness, we stop. So just stop. And then when we're fully stopped, make the move from up and out to in and down. And because our mind needs something to do, we place our mind on our feet, our bum, or our breath. Whatever the choice is, we are making the choice. So although our head wants to get involved in this choice, we're just taking control ourselves and putting our mind deliberately in a single place. And when our mind is there, we are exploring whatever we find. If we're in our feet, we're exploring where are the toes, where's the heel, where's the instep, where's the ball of the foot. And when we found all the parts of the foot, we then go deeper and finer in our concentration. So what now do I find in my toes? What now do I find in the ball or the heel of my foot? And the same principle applies in the bum, if we've chosen the bum. So we find all the parts of the bum. So where are the sitting bones? Where's the fleshy bit? Where's the edge of the bum? Where's the weight of the body inside the bum? And then we narrow the focus further. So what is the sensation of sitting? What is the sensation of weight? Same principle for the breath. Once you've settled on the breath, what's here? How do I breathe? How do I know I breathe? What makes the decision to breathe in? What makes the decision to breathe out? And all these explorations are without you exerting control. You are the dispassionate, scientific, data-gathering observer. I hope this really appeals to the elegant scientist in the room. What can I find? What can I discover? So what you're really activating is this observing self rather than the selfing self. What happens if the selfing self gets too involved is it's all about you, it's all about whether you like it or whether you don't like it. But the observing self is holding all experiences equally and just saying, what is it? What do I find? So it's a really subtle activation of another part of the brain. And if once you're settled, you want to increase your observation, widen the lens of your concentration. So come out from a narrow focus to a wider focus and begin to integrate with the same quality of attention other sensations beyond yourself. So go to the room or the environment and begin to notice sounds, begin to notice sunlight or cloud, warmth or cold. So moving from a close-up attention to a wide open attention is really this practice of maintaining a quality of observation, a quality of discovery, a quality of curiosity. Otherwise, the practice is rather the same. It's not the selfing self, it's getting out of the way, just allowing things to come and go. So a noise drops into your ear and it just moves through. Or a wave of emotion drops into you and it just moves through. Okay, for the last few moments, I'm going to make a suggestion that you choose. So it's interesting, as soon as I hand that to you, whether you panic or whether you are more relaxed by the idea of making your own choice for the next 2 or 3 minutes, decide for yourself what serves you best. Is it to stay with this open awareness, or is it to go back to the more focused concentration? Now, here's a choice where there's no right answer other than making one choice and staying with it. So if wide open really feels the right thing for you today, stay with that. But if you found it really comforting to be with that narrow, more focused point of view, go back to that. Okay, and just become aware of a transition now from whether you're wide open or narrow, and now begin to maybe wiggle fingers and toes or roll your shoulders, stretch, deepen your breath, and when you're ready, transition back to eyes open. So good morning, everyone. It's wonderful to practice with you, and I'm so pleased to share my home. I realize that as you pick out little landmarks behind me and ask about my cat, how much that makes me feel like we're building a community, we're building a connection here. So I'm just delighted to have that sense amongst us. and hope that that will continue to grow over the weeks as we get more skillful and get more experience under our belt of mindfulness. As usual, I'm going to record the front end, so if you want to chat to me, please do it through the chat button, and that way it stays out of the recording. But after I've done the main section, I will stop the recording because I'd really like more interaction and more to and fro between us, if that's possible. So one of the things that you'll have noticed is that I often make reference to find something but don't change it. So if you go to the breath, find it, but don't exert control over it. Don't make it deeper or stronger or longer. If you find your big toe and you find that you've got some agitation in your big toe, you know, the invitation is to explore it, not to kind of immediately rush to flex it or, you know, reach down and massage it or something, but to really learn this idea of abiding with, being with whatever you find. And that's one of the main attitudes of mindfulness, is not to come into a practice thinking that you want to get somewhere, or that there's something here to be achieved, or that there are attainment milestones. Now, this is really unusual because, of course, something does get attained, something does get achieved over the course of lots of practice. We notice things are naturally changing. And this is one of the reasons I am so committed to mindfulness, is because what I notice is that the theory of change, if you like, is one that is really sustainable and without hurt. It's without harm. Over my lifetime, I've done lots of organizational change, you know, restructuring, where we get out the org charts and we say this role goes here, and we kind of manipulate the shape of the organization. And I guess you'll all be very, very familiar with that, especially as you come into a merger. You know, the shape of the organization changes. And what mindfulness has really, really taught me is that in every aspect of my life, I can step into something new and find ways of being with whatever I find in a way that is nurturing and sustaining. And yet doing that without setting a goal or without setting out a plan, for example. So all that is asked of you as you step into practice is that you bring the whole of yourself to the practice, that we're not half-hearted in our practice. And this exactly mirrors our attitude as we go back into our life, is it teaches us again to go back into our life in a full-bodied, fully engaged, you know, really living our life attitude, no matter what comes. So, sort of, I'm reminded of this idea of surf. I don't know if any of you have had that sense of standing at the side of an ocean, a really big ocean like the Pacific, and the breakers are coming in towards you. And I like this metaphor very much for the metaphor of mindfulness and life and difficulty. If you wade into the surf, so if you embark on a life and you can see difficulty coming towards you, you can see a surf wave coming towards you. If you turn your back on that wave, you will be hit in the back, and I can guarantee you'll go tumbling. And as you tumble, you might hit your head and you might hurt yourself rather badly. Similarly, if you try and run through the water to get away from the wave, I guarantee again that you cannot run faster than the wave can get you. So standing still and bracing against it is not going to save you, and running away from it is not going to save you. Anybody who spends a great deal of time in the ocean will actually tell you that the way to cope with the very largest waves, the huge, huge monster waves that come in from deep from the ocean, is you stand squarely facing them so that you can see the tempo, you can see the wave, you can see its size, you can experience the thunder as it bears down on you. And really, very gently, it is a skill, but you take a big breath and you can literally fly over the top. So you ride the wave goes under you, you go over it. And there's a really lovely calm spot at the bottom at the other side of the wave. I'm not a surfer, but I do come from a country where we are plonk in the middle of the Pacific. So I am talking from many years of experience trying not to get wet, actually, because usually I'm standing there screaming about, being cold, and nevertheless the waves come and all you can do is deal with it. And the relationship to mindfulness and the relationship to life is really simple in this metaphor. Firstly, you can't stop the waves. The waves are a force of nature. So difficulty will come your way. There's wave upon wave of difficulty. And if there's been a storm at sea, that determines the frequency of the waves and the size of the waves. So you are not in charge of the waves. The waves cannot be held back. All you are in charge of is the choices that you make about how you face those waves, how you face your difficulty. And sort of the grace and the equanimity that mindfulness imparts to us is the knowledge that firstly we can stand it, that we are going to survive, that we're not going to be overwhelmed by a wave because we have skills and we have knowledge. But that it's all in the timing, it's all in the riding of the wave, it's all in sort of moving ourselves firstly towards the wave, orientating ourselves directly to it, taking a breath, and then finding a way of riding over it. So we're going to do a practice using this idea of facing and riding and surfing the waves of our life. And by the way, this is also for happiness. Happiness comes in waves as well. Good things, love comes at us as a wave, a shock wave. Wow, imagine that, we never knew. So the same thing is, can we ride the wave? Can we find a way of surfing over them? And I'll just frame what we're doing with this lovely saying that I read. The ultimate perfection of practice does not come from endurance or re-evaluation of a situation. Rather, it comes from it comes from the absence of our habitual automatic triggers and reactive hooks to the challenge of life. Fully mature practice is effortless. It is not a doing at all. So I'm going to invite us to really find a comfortable position. If you'd like to lie down, that's fine. If you do lie down, eyes open so that you're awake, you're fully living the practice, fully engaged in the practice. And if you're sitting, feet on the floor, bum on the seat, upright, but not rigid upright, just gentle upright. And we'll start with a poem by Rilke. So come into yourself and let these words settle within you. Have patience with everything unresolved in your heart, and try to love the questions themselves. Don't search for the answers, which could not be given to you now, because you would not be able to live them. And the point is to live everything. Live the questions now. Perhaps then, someday, far in the future, you will gradually, without even noticing it, live your way to the answer. So I really encourage us in this practice to think about those words, about how we live our way to the answer. Beginning now by establishing a focus area. So this is usually established in that narrow field that we sort of set up earlier. The feet on the floor, the bum on the seat, the breath. One of those places, or the hands. Actually, the hands in your lap might be another anchor point. What we're doing is we're fastening our attention. Because our minds love things to do, we're placing our minds in a particular place with a particular attitude, and we're telling our minds, observe this, look at this, see what you can find. Now, as I say every time, of course, as soon as we place our attention in one place, our head wants to get involved and start telling us we've made a bad choice. Or it gets involved by telling us that we don't have time for this, or this is silly, or you can't do it, or you don't know how to do it, or you've never been able to do it, or yada, 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 yada. Just notice all that chatter, but reassert your choice, whatever that choice was, in a really kind, gentle, but disciplined way. Bring your mind back to the place that you've allocated for it. So a focused mind is a happy mind. A mind that's off daydreaming or collecting problems is inevitably an unhappy mind. Notice too if there's any agitation inside your body. Any fidgetiness, agitation, tension. Allowing that to just move through you. If you feel like you're stable and your mind is settling, your body is settling, and if the wide open, spacious awareness was something that you felt was nourishing for you, you might make the choice now to widen your focus. So you move from a narrow focus to a more spacious and inclusive focus. Again, you make the choice, but you stick to the choice. It may be that one of these two practices is more kind of your thing. Just knowing what that is today, because another day it might be the other way round. But going to wide open awareness is not going into la la land or not going into daydreaming. It's still very specific. It's really looking for the experience of being here, being wide open and available, which has a different flavor to it than the more narrow focused experience. They're still both mindfulness. One is focused and concentrated and one is wide open. Both come with the attitude of being fully present, fully engaged, curious, interested, investigating. As you investigate things, you might discover that you face or see waves of physical sensation, waves of emotion, waves of mental activity, waves of regret, waves of anger, whatever, all sorts of things come up. Memories, past hurts, future concerns, all sorts of waves come towards us. Just remembering in this gentle but strong way that we're simply learning to surf. We're using our anchor and our breath to face those waves, not to push them away, not to add energy to them. So if we fight them, we just add energy. They become bigger and stronger. Our job is to see them, understand them, and surf them as they pass by. And as they recede, very often there's this deepening of the anchor. Somehow we get through that wave and we get out the other side, and something very imperceptible has changed, shifted, deepened. But the quality of our practice benefits from that experience of being resilient. A little bit of neurological pathway has been laid down for us by that experience. And that's really all we're doing. Really, that is all we're doing. And then the next few minutes, just turning your attention now to one particular aspect of your experience. This might be sound. It might be the play of light across your eyes or your eyelids. It might be warmth. Just one particular dimension of whatever you're experiencing. And again, watch it as if, it's an object of fascination. And watch how it interacts with you. So sound comes and goes. Once you remove your judgment from the sound about whether it's nice or not nice, you can hear sound in a completely fresh and different way. Similarly with the play of light, noticing when it's sunshine, when it's cloud, when it's grey. All the qualities of light, you might find different colours come with the light. And again, without any judgment attaching to whatever you find, simply being with that. And there are other kinesthetic sensations as well within our body. Tingling, or even cramping, or tension, or butterflies in our stomach, or a profound sense of relaxation. Get out your inquisitive microscope and pay attention to these things. Okay, what I'd like you to do is to practice a transition where you stay in practice, but you now transition to eyes open, and if you've got a pen and a piece of paper, you simply pick up the pen and you place the pen on the paper, and as part of the practice, you note to yourself. So just keep writing, keep making notes. What did you discover? What was that experience? And I'm going to turn off the recording at this point.